We've been talking a lot about all the different methods, and techniques, and tips, and tricks that you can use with Google search, and there are lots of them. But now I want you to elevate your thinking just a little bit more. Now I want you to think broadly. Think beyond the normal resources that you can normally think about online. Think beyond the card catalog. Think beyond just Google web search. Think beyond whatever box you happen to be living in at the moment. What we want to do is to think about what other resources we can find. What other kinds of results would be just right for the kinds of questions we're searching for. Let me give you some examples of this. As we've talked about, you can already combine the methods and approaches. You know how to combine file type, you know how to combine cite with minus, you know how to combine, you get it. All these things you can put together. You can filter colors on images. You can use the cite in image search, and you can use operators like OR in news. So now all of these methods we've been learning are applicable in different Google resources. They're useful in images, they're useful in news, and so on. One of the things to think about thinking broadly is to think about the kinds of things you can find. For example, you could probably search for a calendar online. What day is Wednesday in 2022? We can look for a calendar online to actually answer that question. Did you think about calendars? It's the kind of thing I want you to consider. Look for, imagine what the perfect result would be, and then search for that. Keeping in mind everything we've talked about, how to choose good keywords, how to use the operators to limit your searches, and so on. I also want to remind you about this idea of adding in additional terms. Remember, we call them context terms. That is, these extra words you add in order to limit your search to the kind of thing you're looking for. A couple examples here. Remember, you can always use the keyword Google when you're looking for a Google property, like Google Translation Tools, Google Language Translate. The number one result is always the thing you're looking for here. But you can also add in extra words like diagram. For example, planetary gear diagram will give you beautiful planetary gear diagrams so you understand what that is. Or clipper ship diagram, sailing tutorial, you get the idea. Let me just illustrate this really quickly. Let's do that first example. Planetary gear diagram. And you can see we have beautiful results here, all these different diagrams of how planetary gear works. You may not know what a planetary gear is, but now you can see and get the overview by looking at all these images. Of course, by clicking through on the blue link here, we can go to image search and get a lot of different kinds of diagrams. There's many different versions of this. We can also do the same thing by searching for different kinds of diagrams of other things. Clipper ship, sails, diagram. That works pretty well. And now, when you're reading those great seafaring novels, you can actually understand what sail they're talking about by referring to one of these diagrams. You see what I mean? There's a lot of stuff out there if you can frame your question to think more broadly. Let's give another example. Stonehenge is a fantastic Neolithic monument. It is built between 3000 and 2000 BCE. So it's a fantastic thing. Now you might ask the question, is there moss on all sides of these stones, these standing stones at Stonehenge? How would you find out? I don't know if anybody's written an article about this or not, but by thinking broadly, we can think, what kind of resource would have that information? Or how could I find out for myself? Here's one way to do it. What I would do is go to maps.google.com. This is one of the great resources we have, but I want to search for Stonehenge in maps. So here we are. We're actually at Stonehenge here in Amesbury in the United Kingdom. I'm going to switch to Earth View just to verify that I'm at the Stonehenge I think I'm looking for. And sure enough, there's a bunch of standing stones there. Fantastic. Now, one of the things you can do in Google Maps is to click on the Pegman right here, lower right. If you just click on him, you'll see all these blue lines and blue dots appear. The blue dots are photospheres, that is 360 views, and the blue line represents street view locations. So we can now take the Pegman and drag Pegman onto any one of these blue lines. So let's go right about here. And you can see we're actually at Stonehenge. And now, of course, we could virtually walk around and check out all these stones. Is there moss on this side of the stone? Sure. Now we could walk around, we could actually change our location and check out one by one all of the stones. You see? By thinking a little bit outside of the box, we found a resource that allows us to directly answer the question. So go ahead now and try the next activity. Remember, think broadly, think what the ideal result would be, see if you can find it.